What's up, everybody? It's Tuesday. Hope everybody's Tuesday is off to a great start. Doing another member interview today. So once we get this thing coordinated, we will kick this off. Wow, I think this might be a record. I think we've got. All right, so Chris, I just accepted your invite to join, so maybe you can see it on your end and join. Oh my
Hey,
goodness, what's up?
how are you?
Man, all right, let me adjust my desk here. This is a record. I think you just set a new PR for actually making this happen.
Thanks. I used to work as a social media coordinator right out of school, so I have
Oh,
some
did you
experience.
really?
Yeah, it was a side hustle, but it's kind
Man,
of.
in what did you do? Because I mean, I use social media so much that I'm it's fascinating to me.
Oh yeah, so I used to basically just promote certain brands in the triathlon space to make some side money while I was racing. So
Okay.
got pretty experienced at the Instagram Live back in the day.
Okay. Yeah, it's Instagram Live is it's so fascinating because it's a critical part of so many people's business and
Really?
it's largely free. I mean, funded by other people paying for ads and stuff like that, but the service you can use for free if you use it. I mean, we're doing a live interview right now for free, which is it's
Yeah.
amazing. Anyway, sorry, sidetracked
All
already.
good.
Um, as I've said before, I think you might be the third person I've interviewed. We're just starting this going of interviewing Linchpin members all around the world. I'm trying to set one up for next Tuesday as well. So I'm trying to keep these things on a Tuesday cadence for a bit. And I got a bunch of emails sitting in a certain folder, and I'm making my way through them. And yours crossed my path. So Chris, I appreciate you making some time this morning.
Yeah, I'm honored to speak to you, obviously.
And you've got potentially one of the coolest Instagram handles on the face of the earth. You got run heavy and lift fast, which is phenomenal.
Thanks. It's a complete opposite of where I used to
Yes.
be.
Yep. Well, that's you've got a fascinating little story. In the email you sent me, you kind of gave a bit of your background, which was former elite level triathlete, even you said with your eyes on the 2016 Olympic team. That's not a
Yes, sir.
casual triathlete. So why don't you give us a little bit of that
Yeah,
story?
so I was a competitive runner since seventh grade. I actually was eyeing state. I made state a couple times up until I even got to run D1 for a couple years, and as a walk-on, and got to try that out, and never got to really represent the
What was
school, but
your distance?
10K.
Oh,
And I ended up
whew.
getting on with that. So, yeah, it's been, and then of course, started in high school at triathlon. My friend had done a couple, and I was like, oh, I want to jump in and try one. And then it was a very small sport. I mean, we're talking 50 athletes around the age of 19. And so immediately everyone competing was of the I'm going to the Olympics type caliber. And as the years went on, competed in that until I was about 22. The field got smaller and smaller, and people started attritioning out, just part of the sport. And so obviously, I started getting faster and faster during that time as well. And it's been then walked away from that when I graduated college to grab a real career. Got married.
Why would you want to do that? Get a real job. Oh my goodness.
Unfortunately, yeah, $200 a week when you win a race is not enough to really support a rent, and I didn't feel
Hmm.
like bumming off my parents that much,
Fair
although I
enough.
certainly tried. But I graduated college in 2013, so supporting 3 years of living with my parents on $200 a week again when you win is just not enough. Plus, I was crazy about this girl, and $200 a week was barely enough for us to cover a date once a week. So after everything had been said and done, so ended up walking away from that.
Out of the three parts of being a triathlete, the swim, the bike, and the run, where did you make your money and where was your biggest
Oh
struggle?
man, no doubt the swim was the hardest part. I definitely swimming was something I should have been really good at. I'm six
Oh,
six
wow.
and 260 pounds now. I have the same exact wingspan as Michael Phelps. People, when I started swimming, were like, "Oh man, it's uncanny how quickly you picked this up." And my parents just never really saw that as a route for me, so I never really got into it. But
Hmm.
the bike was where like I just
Mm.
crushed. Like
Mm.
I did a duathlon this past weekend entirely on your programming, and I came first off the bike by a good 2 to 3 minutes.
Oh,
So
wow. Good for
thanks.
you.
But as you know, like, I mean, it's been native for me. Like getting on the Echo bike is a joke compared to other people.
I was going to
So
say I'm five
yeah,
foot eight, so you got about almost a foot on me. What'd you say you weigh?
260 now.
260. Okay, I'm about 180.
Yeah.
And whenever some of the Echo Bike workouts come up, whether it's calories in the 3 minute or whatever, there's some folks out there that crush it. And refresh my memory, because you put up some monster times and scores in the last couple of Rogue challenges that came up. There's
Yeah.
two different ones. Do you remember what were the two different challenges exactly, and how did you fare on those?
I did the 50 cal in 32 seconds, I believe.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, it's one of those. I told my wife, like, oh man, we're gonna win this, and she's like, why? And I'm like, all right, just trust me, we're gonna do it. I think we came like top 10 in that one.
It's impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, it's crazy. The 5 minute, I think I put out 140-ish calories over the 5 minutes, but that was hard mentally more than I thought, because the 50 cals just go. Like you just go and see what
Are you
happens.
dead on the floor after the 50
No,
cals?
the 50 cal, I was dead. The 5 minute, I was like, I'm ready to walk and do it again if you give me 5 minutes.
Okay. Geez, so on the 5 minute one, you held just about 30 calories a minute. Not quite, but just about. Which, again, I know we all make money in different places, but I could do 30 calories in 1 minute on the air bike, but I am done for the day. Like that is my maximal effort. So to think that you held that for 4 more minutes that's insane to me. But wow. Anyway, that's crazy. So you've got the elite triathlete background, the collegiate D1 runner stuff for a while there, but you also said in your email, even with as much running as you did, that it took you multiple years to get a sub 6 mile, which
Oh yeah,
I found interesting. You said it took 5 years.
almost. Yeah, yes, sir. It was not an easy journey. I'm going to be fully transparent. My record now is like, oh my gosh, you'd never believe this. But my first timed mile in high school after like 5 years of running was 7:37. I'd been running the 400 prior. First time mile,
Interesting.
7:37. I'm getting lapped by every female on the track, as well as every male probably lapped me
Huh.
twice. 4 years later, I'm going sub 5 routinely.
Oh, wow.
And we're going
Wow.
and competing in like lot larger track meets. And it was just all about trusting the process, sticking to it. And I put in a lot more work, I'd say, than a lot of my peers, because year-round indoor track, outdoor track, as well as cross country was enough to keep me in place. And a lot of my peers ended up like, they take breaks and like, oh, I'm not going to run this summer.
Oh,
That was
okay.
not
In
a route.
season and out of season,
Yes,
so to
sir.
speak. Okay.
There is no
Interesting.
off.
So, right, I understand. So you finish up with that, you sadly decide you got to go out there and get an actual job. You met this girl, you're going to support that as well.
Yeah,
And now you're in data, aren't you?
I am. I run a team of one right now, data scientists, and I'm a senior manager of data science at a large tech co.
Okay.
So,
And did you go to school for that, or
I
did
did.
you on the job?
Yeah, I actually got a degree. It's very unique in marketing research analytics. And thankfully I did bounce around a few different analytics spaces before I found this one, but this is actually firmly in what my degree is in, which helps a
Okay,
lot.
fascinating. You also mentioned in the email that coming from the running background and biking and swimming, which is, fantastic, that CrossFit you actually found to be a healthier sport, both physically and mentally. What do you mean by that, and how so?
Yeah, 100%. So triathlon's a very lonely sport. You're training 25 hours a week and you're like, okay, I'm going to run for an hour and a half and I'm not going to be able to talk to anyone during this. I'm going to bike in 2 or 3, 4 hours. I'll be in a group, but you're not talking. You're competing with everyone.
Interesting, right.
Yeah. Swimming, 100% the loneliest sport you'll ever see, because you're staring at a line in the pool. You can't even blast music during this. It's a
Right.
terrible event. So what's really impressed me too is triathlon's very focused on, okay, I'm going to be the fastest cyclist. I'm going to be the fastest runner. I'm the fastest swimmer. It sounds well-rounded, except when you get to like where I'm at now, I have intense mobility issues. I actually have to work with a mobility coach twice a week or twice a month to help me stretch and really get more fit in that regard. as well as with CrossFit, what's crazy to me is lifting was not something we ever did. Like you could
Mm-hmm.
hold a plank for, one of the things you had to do is hold a plank for 5 minutes. And that was the accomplishment. But it
Right.
wasn't like, oh, and then we're going to squat. So like all these things now, and I'm going running. I think I've told you a couple times, my runs feel so much easier. I'm running a lot slower, but it feels really easy compared to what it used to
Uh,
feel like.
I'm sure you're a stronger, more durable, more
100%.
resilient athlete as well. It's funny, runners are notorious for not having good
Yeah.
flexibility and mobility. Notorious. And if you think if they just run, you were cycling and swimming, but if they just run, you think about that range of motion, you think about the range of motion of a squat, and you call a squat a full articulation of a couple of joints in your body. You've got that run is maybe 25%
Yeah.
of each joint, like never passing through a full range of motion, and you just do it over and over and over. And so you try to get them below parallel, or try to get them into some positions, and just it's a struggle.
Yeah. And I grew up too in the age of, well, stretching will make you slower.
Uh,
Why would you stretch? Why would
right,
you
okay.
rest? That's going to build up your muscle. Don't lift. That's going to build up too much muscle. You're not going to be fast if you put on muscle. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously now as time has gone on, I've had multiple friends who have also left the sport. And they're like, man, why were we never lifting? Like, look how much faster I am now.
That's such a funny thing too. And I guess some part of that is maybe the genetics of each person and whether you are prone to just pack on muscle like Ronnie Coleman, that I don't think most of us have to worry about that, right? I mean, that's why they're on stage and we're not. But I use myself as an example, and I weigh, like I said, about 180 right now after 17 years of CrossFit or so. In my pre-CrossFit days, when I wasn't squatting, I wasn't deadlifting, I wasn't doing anything, I was just coming out of the military, I weighed 180. Like I weighed
Yeah.
literally the exact same that I do right now. But from then to now, I put whatever, I could barely deadlift 250 when I started CrossFit, barely. And so now I've put a couple 100 pounds on my deadlift, but my body weight has not changed one single pound. So it's not like I have to carry more weight on a run. I'm just a physically more capable, stronger human being,
For sure.
like significantly so, but it wasn't like I had to put 30 pounds on to make that happen. So I think that was also just another myth of like, hey, you're a runner, you start lifting weight, you're just going to throw 20
Yeah.
pounds of muscle in your body overnight. It's like, no, you're not. Like most people don't have that problem at all. They're
Right.
always figuring out how to get bigger and nobody can do it.
Right.
It's a,
Exactly.
it's interesting. So, that's a fascinating little bit of your background there. And then did you just start dabbling with CrossFit, like found it on a
Yeah.
website or something post the
So
running days?
I was one of those weirdos, and I will fully own up to this. CrossFit is unhealthy. Why would I do that? I'm going to go.
Sure.
My wife will tell you at one point, it's a kind of a joke between us. I went and got John Cena big. I was like lifting way too much, just like benching way more than I should have been at the time. And I had to buy like 2XL shirts, and I looked like a guy. And then Murph came around, and I'm like, oh, I can do 100 pull-ups. I can do 200 push-ups. I can do 300 squats. Man, I got humbled. Oh my gosh. Like I'm doing pull-ups with a band. I'm looking around. Everyone in the gym is like breezing past. And I had to learn right then. I was like, oh, CrossFit's kind of tough. So that was about 4 years ago. So I made Murph my workout of choice. So I was going to
Oh,
get
good for
really good at
you.
Murph. Thank you. And I was going to get really good at Murph. So I kind of, about once a month, I went after Murph, and I did a full Murph and kept working various components until I got better. And then over that time, I actually had a ton of members in your community reach out and recommend Linchpin, and they go, you need to get programming. You can't just be like, oh, I'm going to do a Murph every other day for a year, and this is my workout. Like, that's not fitness. And so once I had that happen, that was about 2 years ago, I ended up signing up, and let me tell you, it's a lot better for me because that was getting very monotonous.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's Murph is a humbling workout
Oh,
for, I
yeah.
think, an overwhelming majority of people, that if they're not. Again, I did it. It was my first CrossFit workout, and I didn't think it looked that bad on paper.
Yeah.
Coming from my background, we did a lot of calisthenics, we did a
Right.
lot of running, we didn't do any squats. I was like, okay, that's the one component I'm not ready for, but it all of it crushed me
Yeah.
because in my olden days, I segmented all that training. I didn't smash it all together. I wasn't doing pull-ups and push-ups and everything at a high heart rate and mixing them up. So even though I had familiarity with all of those components or most of them separately, now when you put them together, it was like I hadn't worked out ever before. It was a
Yeah.
very eye-opening experience. So we can probably guess, since you said before, you're a fan of the bike. Are there what other stuff when it comes out of the hopper for workouts makes you smile, and what comes out and makes you frown?
Okay, so obviously the rower is going to be the other one. I know Ben out in France, he probably doesn't remember me too much. I have a rivalry. I don't think he knows we have a rivalry. I think he dropped like a 17:56, so I had to do a 17:55 5K just to like even it out
Yes,
one
yeah.
time. So happy he has an Echo bike because now I can actually like get him on something.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, but pull-ups are obviously a huge one for me. Push-ups,
Got a
and then
long range of motion
yeah,
too.
yeah, for sure. It's tough, but it's something I really enjoy. And then anytime you program like overhead squats or and also
Yeah.
box jumps scare me now because my wife had an incident a couple months ago, and that's just one of those like I've had to be like, okay, we're not going to fall in the wooden box anymore. We're going to do this right.
Yeah. I mean, I tell you what, I don't know if they make just a like a slip-on cover for a wooden box,
Yeah,
but I had wooden boxes for the longest. Well, actually, when we first started, we had those like metal boxes,
yeah,
that had just like four legs, which is horrific. Then
yeah,
the wooden boxes, and then a few years ago, I bought those soft kind of, well, they're not soft, but they're firm, like the
yeah.
Rogue ones. Man, they're a lifesaver. And of course, Murphy's Law, since I bought those, I've never
Of
fallen.
course,
Like if I kept the wooden box, I'd have fallen like 15 times. But now that I have those things, I've never fallen since
right.
then. But yeah, they're nice to know there. So I assume that we're in your garage there in the
Yes, sir.
background. Is that where you work out, home gym?
Yeah, this is my wife's pull-up bar. We do have two now, so it's nice. We actually just moved almost a year ago to build this home gym out because we were pulling the cars out every day, putting the
Ah,
salt
yeah.
mat out. Everything was packed up nice and tidy. Now it's kind of nice and out
And
there.
what's your schedule? Is it 5 workouts a day? Is it evenings? Is it mornings? What works for
Yeah,
you?
it's definitely the evenings. I have a hard time waking up early, so I finish my work day, and then we're generally in the gym within about a half hour of finishing work. So
Nice.
yeah.
And is it, do you rest a couple days a week, or are you one of those people that you got to do
Oh
something?
no, I definitely follow your programming pretty strictly in terms of rest. I didn't used to. I used to really get annoyed with my coach back in the day. Like, what do you mean I'm not running on Sundays? Like, this is stupid. Like, we should be running every day.
Right.
Um, and now it's like, I've noticed a remarkable improvement not only in my mood but in durability and longevity with being able to, it's okay to take a rest day. Matter of fact, you should take rest days. It's bad to not.
Yeah, amen to that. And how frequently you mentioned some things like maybe overhead squats or whatnot, but do you find, are you scaling every now and then? Is most of the stuff that comes out, can you knock it out as it's written, or how is that path for you?
Well, it definitely, if it's an overhead squat day right now, we're working on it. It's kind of hard and humbling. And if it's double unders, I have had a really hard time picking those up. So
Mm,
I'm of the opinion fitness is the same on a double under or a single under. It's just the skill involved.
there you go.
So,
You have you're jumping.
yeah, so I'm like, okay, well maybe we're gonna do single unders today just to keep the heart rate higher. So we definitely have done that. And then due to garage limitations, you program rope climbs. Sometimes we're swapping in the
Oh,
pull
sure.
bars instead. Um, Various things like that throughout the week come up. And then of course, got to give a shout out to Ryan and the Odd Objects group, because sometimes it's like, oh, you're going to program back squats, and it's fun to grab that 150-pound sandbag in a bear hold and
Oh,
see
yeah.
what happens with that. So all around.
You know what I'm curious about? You said initially in your journey, I think you said when you were doing like Murph once a month or something like that, that there was actually some folks from Linchpin said, "Hey, you should check this out." But how did they find you initially? Did
Yeah,
you have friends in there, or what was that connection?
no. I was on Reddit and I was asking for like Murph tips. I'm like, oh man, I've hit a plateau. I'm under an hour, which, by the way, being 6'6", being under an hour in Murph, I was so happy with that. My first
I
time was
would, yes.
30. And I was like, okay, well, how do I get better? And people were like, you need a coach. Like, honestly, find somebody. And then, okay, well, who do I go to? And there were probably 30 replies who all said
Oh,
Linchpin.
oh,
And
cool.
therefore, just like, okay, well, jumping in, easy enough. 30-day free trial. I knew who you were because obviously the CrossFit Games documentaries are everywhere. But
Right, right.
it's easy to trust the coach So it worked out really well.
And I guess um, maybe to wrap up a little bit and just uh, put a cherry on it here. A, is there anything we should have chatted about that we didn't? And then B, I guess if anyone's watching or listening, do you have any like lessons learned that you would like to share with everybody that you wish you had known years ago to put yourself on a better path?
I definitely think finding the right coach is essential, right? You need to have programming you can stick to. It doesn't matter whose it is, just stick to it. Find something that you can
Quite true.
do. It's okay to say, hey, today's workout sounds kind of lame. Maybe it's not something I want to do. Mentally, I do really well on the Concept 2 bike. So it's like, okay, cool. We're going to do the Concept 2 bike. We're going to split it up with some pull-ups and squats here and there. Be ready to change things depending on how your day is going.
Mm-hmm.
And then my final one, and everyone's probably said this by now, is like, give yourself some grace. It's okay to not be fastest at every workout. It's hard for me because like I'm super competitive. I'm still learning how to lift. So like even my wife in the gym last night, we're like hauling against each other trying to see who's gonna win out on last night's workout, which I think was row, run.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
And such.
20-minute deal.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, this is perfect for me. And she's like the whole time just without her knowing, just pushing me a little bit. But there have been days when she's been doing CrossFit on and off, like once, twice a week sometimes. She'll come in here and humble me. And it's like, okay, well, I gotta give myself some grace. She's, a lot better athlete than I am. So it's been kind of fun to have a training partner, obviously. And then, the big one too is it's really nice to have CrossFit and be able, it's almost like a date for us. It's something that we go, okay, we're working out together every night. Maybe not every night doing the same workout, but at least we're still supporting each other through that journey. And so finding that support group is huge. Linchpin has a giant support group, and there's a ton of people here that actually really do care. Got to give a shout out to obviously Scott Francis, who gives me like a daily push of like, thank you for working out. He likes my comments. He helps me with thinking about the bigger picture. And then there's quite a few others on this list, like Dan Palau up in Longmont and such, who we all kind of have like this Colorado-based community as well, which is really cool.
Well, that is cool. People always think that I'm, I assume people think I'm just exaggerating, right? Because, hey, it's an online community. How can it actually have a sense of any sort of getting to know people or what? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how we pulled it off, but we got some really cool, real, genuine people out there, and there's genuine support there, and like the true friendships have developed, and like it's pretty spectacular to see. And you're obviously, a part of that. I genuinely appreciate you sharing your story with everybody.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's awesome to talk to you. It's it is, like I said, very appreciative what you do, because for a while there I was really lost in terms of like, I'm getting discouraged. It's easier to grab a 6-pack of beer after work than sticking to the gym. So having an accountability buddy, for lack of a better term, through BTWB and having the group has been huge for me.
Well, we'll be here. We're not going anywhere, and take it easy on your Echo bike, all right?
Will do. Thank you, sir.
All right, Chris, have a good day, brother.
Good to see you. Take care.
Bye.